Hello and welcome back to Coffee Create Connect Community channel, where I am going to be reading my own work, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. So I'm going to include my own book in my Purchase or Pass series, and yes, I am inviting you to be brutally honest and tell me, based off of what I read, is it something that would interest you enough that you would want to purchase it or recommend it to a friend? Or is it something you would pass on? And please do not worry about my feelings. I have decided being an author and putting yourself out there means sometimes you're going to get praise and it's going to feel really good. And sometimes you're going to get criticism that actually helps and that also kind of feels good because you're learning. And then I'm sure at some point there will be criticism that is just pure negativity. I've accepted it, I've made peace with it. I do ask, obviously, that you state your opinion respectfully, but honestly. So I'm going to read from my phone my opening part of the book, which I'm not sharing a title or a blurb or anything like that because just like every other book I review in this series, I only want us basing opinions on the first line, first paragraph, first page. Because it's my book, my channel, and I want to do a little self promo here. I've worked extremely hard on this book. I'm going to probably read a little bit more than just the first page, just to kind of give you an idea of what my book is like right now. That being said, I will be working with a professional editor starting tomorrow. So this first part of the book could be completely different by the time it's published. When I have my final product ready to be published, I will come back out here and read to you the final version. But for now, drum roll please, I'm going to read to you the way as the way it stands right now, which I personally love. But again, I am obviously, it's impossible for me to be objective. It is my work. Of course, I think it's good, especially when I've worked on it and reworked on it and worked on it some more. So much I won't even, I'm not even going to acknowledge the amount of time that has been spent thinking about it, working on it, reworking it, all the things. I'm trying to jump right in. Okay, so first page, which I was going to have it as a prologue, but for reasons I don't understand, I guess some people don't read prologues. Um, Let me know if you're one of those people and why. Why? Just why? I know some prologues are like super long and that can be kind of a turnoff. Mine is like a paragraph long. And then some people I've heard just really don't like prologues to the point they don't want to read a book that starts with one. And the other thing I've heard is some people will say, I don't read a prologue, but if I like the book, I'm gonna I'm gonna skip the prologue, read the book, and if I like the book, I'll go back and read the prologue. Uh, I don't fully understand any of this, but I'm curious. Are you a person who enjoys prologues? It avoids prologues? Do you read the book and then go back and read the prologue? Where's your stance on this subject? I'd love to know. I personally love prologues, as long as they're not long. And I'm not calling it a prologue. I'm just opening the book this way. And then you turn the page and it says part one, chapter one. So, very first page you read that's actually part of the book, that's not like acknowledgments, etc., is as this: Doris Clark, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. So that's our character and where she lives. Time kindly grants us space between our first hello and our last goodbye to carve out a life, yet cruelly rips away our youth, our loved ones, and even our most precious memories. At 80 years of age, I thought there were no more beginnings for me. No more purpose or joy, no more hellos full of possibility. Only one final goodbye to my life. Then I received a phone call from a stranger that changed everything. So, based off just of that part, would this interest you enough that you would want to purchase or at least keep reading to find out a little bit more and, then make a decision? I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that opening page. So, first page, chapter 1, The Worst Thing a Person Can Be. That's the title. The summer of 1959, I was 14, living in a small farm town with my parents and obsessed with a morbid question. What would it be like to watch everyone you love die before you do? To watch each person get plucked away like a flower from its roots until you're nothing but a tumbleweed. A tumbleweed with no one who cares where you go or end up. Mother always said, Doris, the worst thing a person can be is alone. Sometimes, when in town, I'd see Mrs. Wilson, a once vibrant woman who, with the strokes of time, became a widow. Once she and her husband visited our house, spending the evening drinking too much strawberry wine and laughing nonstop. They were so happy, it seemed they'd always be young and drink too much and laugh too loudly. But he died, leaving her heart in pieces that were never put back together. Like the fallen egg in that fairy tale. Everything perfect until something breaks that can't be fixed. Seeing her after she became a widow, I couldn't believe she once had been the beautiful, funny, bigger-than-life woman in our living room. After her husband passed, she never smiled, only wore black, and didn't say hello to us anymore. She'd simply nod and we'd nod back, pretending not to notice she'd become a shell of herself. I often wondered if Mother's fear of being left alone, a fear that eventually became mine, was born from seeing women like Mrs. Wilson transform from woman to shell. Days Dad put work aside to be with us, Mother put away her fear and sadness, making jokes and dancing with him after breakfast. Dance with me, Calvin, she'd say, a huge smile gracing her delicate face. Then she'd grab my hand and spin me around until I was dizzy and giggling. When the weather was hot and sticky, the sun frying our skin, we'd race each other to the pond on the outskirts of our property, throwing our sweat-soaked bodies into the cool water. There we'd swim, picnic, and nap in the shade, sometimes until the sky faded into twilight. After, we'd take turns showering quick enough to leave hot water for the next person. When winter winds took the place of summer sun, we'd feast on huge meals, listen to the radio, and tell stories by the fire. These days Dad was home were my favorite. Mornings Dad left for work, Mother reminded me the world is full of bad people who do bad things. She'd say, Doris, remember, just because you don't see the bad people doesn't mean they don't exist. I know you get curious about what's beyond this little town, but there are terrible things that happen to young women out there, especially if they don't have the protection of family. She'd stare out the window, perhaps ensuring the bad people weren't heading our way. One day I couldn't help it. I asked Mother, who are the bad people? What did they do to you? A deep frown crept over her face before she smiled. Never mind all that, Doris. I shouldn't bring it up. You have family. You're safe. I'd come in from the morning chores to find her sitting by the window overlooking the dirt road leading away from our property. Sometimes crying, other times just watching daylight fade to dusk, waiting for Dad to come home. When I couldn't take her vague talk about the dangers of being alone, the mysterious bad people, and the heaviness of her self-pity, I'd go swimming or sit in my favorite tree, leaving her alone, exactly as she feared. Some days it took all the patience I could muster to not slap her cheeks wet with pointless tears, to demand she stop her nonsense, insist she be the strong mother I needed, not just when Dad was around, but always. One night after such a day, I went to bed after chores, feigning a stomach ache. Within minutes, I slipped into the peace of nothingness, but awoke in the middle of the night with a restless energy running through me. I will leave it there. I could read more. I was planning on reading a little more, but I am curious, is this intriguing to you? Is this something you'd want to know more? What's going to happen next? Why is the mother this way? Let me know in the comments. Again, feel free to be super honest. I can only get better as a writer if I know, what's working and what's not. So I'm always curious to hear different people's perspectives and opinions. Was there anything that stood out as particularly good or particularly uninteresting? I'd love to know it. And so let's get the conversation started in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Purchase or Pass. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Go drink some coffee or whatever you drink. Go create some cool stuff. Go connect with some people. And of course, best yet, connect with yourself. See you on the next one.